Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. One of the more unusual economic indicators we've talked about in the past is the lipstick index. This idea that in economic downturns, people cut back on spending and on big items, but continue to buy little luxuries like lipstick. Now, my guest today is the local boss of one of the world's most recognisable brands in beauty and cosmetics, L'Oreal. Now, I want to ask him about the lipstick index, but much more than that. Rodrigo Pizarro is the Chief Executive Officer of L'Oreal Australia and New Zealand. Rodrigo, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the invitation, your kind invitation to be here with you today.
Now, I want to talk about your company and I want to talk about use of data and analytics and all that sort of thing. But first up, is the lipstick index real?
Well, it's a good question, and I would put it broader than just the lipstick index. The reality, as we can see, is that in the last 20 plus years, with the exception of 2020 on COVID, because of mostly physical reasons, the health and beauty market has been growing constantly all around the world. And I said 20 years because before that it's a bit more tricky to get all the information about it. But systematically, within those years and through all crises, we still have growth in terms of the health and beauty market. And there's a few reasons for that. And one of them is that even if you're in a crisis, imagine, there's unemployment, etc., women still, on the contrary, need to be looking as good, if not better than ever. It's a question of self-esteem. It's a question of how they are in life themselves. So we don't see an impact even through the biggest crisis. And you can have crises which are world crises or crises which are regional one, even country-wise. And we can never see really the markets go down. So I think that is really the connection with lipstick. And I say broader because it's just not the lipstick and the makeup. Sometimes, makeup can be down, but then they're using more skincare, like it was the case during COVID, for instance, or they're using another category like hair care. But there's always something, their routine that they're looking for, and they will not stop. As you said, they will stop a lot of things, but we've never seen any crisis deeply impact the health and beauty market. Again, with the exception of COVID, because just physically, throughout a lot of moments, they could simply not buy the products.
Okay, so the health and beauty market itself is growing. Is that a global phenomenon? Now, my background here, I'm sure in my generation, I didn't think much about health and beauty, but I have a house with 8 children and all of them, male and female, think about health and beauty, which is a real change for me because there is so much focus on health and beauty, no matter your gender. It seems to be much more popular now.
It is correct. So it's genderless today, and there are so many categories that effectively there is always a choice for everyone today. So yes, the health and beauty market has been growing constantly, and it's been constantly growing across the world. I cannot record any market in the world or any country where that is not the case. And I've been working throughout different continents. I've worked in Latin America, I've worked in Europe. I'm now here in Australia for the last 9 years. Through crises in each one of them, I've always seen a constant growth in the market. And I think that is just basically because of the reasons I just mentioned before. And today is much more global and more diverse in terms of use of health and beauty. And don't forget, there are parts of health and beauty like sun care as well, the protection which is needed. So there is very aspects of this market. It makes it really always very dynamic.
Okay, so I want to talk about some of the initiatives you've done with L'Oreal, with their local staff. One of them is data literacy. We all hear about data and the need to make data-based decisions, but surely in your world, part of it has to be intuition as well.
You are absolutely right. I could not have said it better. I think what we found that there is a need of this incredible sweet balance between intuition and data, which provides better decisions. As you know, we are a creative company. We are a marketing company. We provide products and dreams and service for women in particular, but for men as well. So that is very much the intuition part. But then we need to go into what is happening today, which is much more about personalization. And personalization is directly related with data analytics and sophisticated data analytics. And that's what we've been doing in the last 2 or 3 years, in particular in Australia, where we decided to start doing it inside. This is a very good question as well. Should we do it outside, which means using big consultants with big machinery, or can you really do it inside which is quite interesting because you control it much better. You have the IP, which is yours. You can put it directly within the teams. And so this transformation we've been doing throughout the last 2 or 3 years, and to be honest, is certainly part of the success that we are seeing in particular in Australia and New Zealand.
Okay, so you employ data scientists?
That is correct. So we've been probably quite ahead of the market and keeping ahead of the market because I think that is the reasons of our success. We did that before even data science, with e-commerce and doing our own D2C, meaning having our own sites and e-boutiques where we're selling directly to consumers. But then we thought that the data was really so important. So we started with a chief data officer, a very smart young lady, Christelle Young, that we worked with her to figure out first, what does it mean data analytics for us? How do we have to structure? How do we have to think about it? And that decision of getting data science inside was taken together with her. So we did think that there was an opportunity to really embed it right within all our structures, from our operations to our marketing to our commercial. It was much more interesting to do it. So today we have 10 data scientists which are working with us, and they're working in certain cases in very sophisticated modeling. Those modelings can go from forecast to media investment to promotions. Just to give you an example, 85% of our media investment today is done through modeling, which means that if you have a certain amount and a brief for a brand for investment, then the channels that we are going to use for that investments are done through a model. And the model will tell you how much you put in television, how much you put in Facebook or in Google or whatever, and taking into consideration multiple impacts, which go from the media itself, but also from promotions which are happening at the same time, and any other factors that can impact this modeling. Same thing going to promotions. We know exactly how much we could promote, what is the percentage that we should promote. And even in cases saying, like, if you promote too much, then afterwards people will stop buying. And so there's a decrease in terms of overall sales. All of that can be done through sophisticated modeling, and we are applying to different areas of our company. And so AVA is what we created as Data Analytics Academy for us, and is really added value through analytics. And what we're trying to do is really understand how can we add value and give ourselves better information for decision making, as you said in the beginning. That is the purpose. The decision is still made by us, and with a lot of base in intuition as well. But having more sophisticated analytics allows us to get much better decisions.
Stay with me, Rodrigo. We'll be back in a minute. My guest this morning is Rodrigo Pizarro, Chief Executive Officer of L'Oreal, Australia and New Zealand. Okay, I was reading an interview with you, and you were talking about the idea of being able to study how beauty products can be experienced online in 3D, how beauty will look in the metaverse, what this means obviously for consumers and the future of the industry. It is very far-reaching kind of ideas that you're thinking about at L'Oreal.
It's totally true. And I think, we went from O, which is offline, to O plus O, which is online plus online, to O plus O plus O, because now we have also the metaverse. And I think the future will be that consumers will be within those three worlds. They will still want to have an experience which is happening offline in a store, in brick and mortars, because sometimes you need to test the products. But there are also sophistication skincare analysis, for instance, that can be done online. So the rest of the journey will continue online. And in the future, they will want to have that applied as well in the metaverse. So I can imagine that in the future, people will all have their own avatars, and they will probably want to have their look, which is both a physical one, but then complementing on the metaverse and having the same look or a different look. So I think this you can see already. And I don't know if you have kids, but I have kids. My kids are playing every day these global games, and they all have avatars. They all play with avatars. So it's happening as we speak. They buy things for their avatars. So I think that is the world of beauty in the future, with these three worlds being complementary. And I think those will use them better, I think will be the winners in terms of brands and companies in the future.
Okay, so dropping technology almost totally here, and literally, another initiative you introduced at one period during COVID was the screen-free wellness hour. So basically meant from 1 till 2 p.m, everyone in the company had to get off their screens. How'd that go? I mean, what a fantastic idea.
Well, at the time it went perfectly, and believe it or not, we are still using today.
Ah, wow.
And I think it's a huge breakthrough. It made a lot of sense, obviously, during COVID, because you were more than ever 8 hours on your screen. So it did make sense because you needed to break. You could see that people were spending too much time, way too much time, just glued in their screen. So it was very important because we wanted them just to relax, because too much screen time, like we say to our kids, is probably damaging a little bit your brain. So I think it was really a critical one that we said you need to have a break, and we don't allow anybody to have meetings. You just relax, go for walks. If you remember, at that time, you probably could only go for walks. There's not too much that you could do.
Yeah.
But that translates also in the world post-COVID. And today, we can see one of the things on coming back to the office is you need this culture of the office. Why are you coming back to the office? There has to be a culture. There has to be a reason to be here. And that is to socialize. So by continue to have that policy, we allow that at 1 o'clock, and we have the fortune to have a very nice cafe with a beautiful look in Melbourne to Albert Park. It is packed with people. It's the moment where people really stop. Some are in our cafe and just having a coffee or having lunch. Some go down to our lobby and they're just staying outside because we created a space for them to be outside. And they're just socializing and meeting other people. They are getting interaction. They are so necessary today as we become so much more online based. So I think the impact that it has in their mental health, in their behaviors, is really quite significant, quite positive. So we are definitely going to keep that. And I think there is a huge respect, which was not happening before. Before, people would just have their lunch at their desk. They'll be ongoing for the 8 hours nonstop. And I think that will definitely increase productivity, but overall just their well-being and the culture, which is going to be improved dramatically as well. So incredible impact.
Okay. The other thing, I mean, I know that I've read from you the importance of wellness, of work-life balance, some great anecdotes of your own. You've got a couple of younger children whom you regularly, leave work early to go and take to activities and things like that. Obviously, very important to you, that work-life balance, not just for you, but for your employees as well.
That is critical. And I think it has to start, like everything, it has to start by the top. You need to give the example. Because a lot of times, so many times, they tell me, well, if the CEO can do it, there's no reason for me not be able to do it. But the second part of it is, well, in particular for us, which are majority of female organization, is the role of dads as well, of the male in educating kids. So the flexible time and use it of this balance is not just important for yourself, for me, for everyone, but also for us men to have a space and make sure that we do what we have to do in terms of education and being with our kids. For me, it's life-changing. I've been doing it for a lot of time. I've used the flexible work as much as possible. As you said, I don't miss any of my kids' activities, regardless, even sometimes with all the respect that this company has, and it's great that it has, even if there are global moments with global meetings, I will be excusing myself if I have to attend, I don't know, a concert of my daughter or something like that, or a sports day of my son. It is so important, that dads are there and everybody's there. So I think by doing that and giving that example myself, I allowed a lot of our leaders to follow it. And I have a couple of anecdotes where, the kid of my CFO was saying, hey, if the dad of my colleague here can be in school, why can't you, Mom? And it was very interesting, this kind of anecdotes, because you really get the example. And I think it's fundamental. We need to balance. We know how important it is. It's been proven that balance is fundamental, but it's also critical for us to be with our kids because they are matching our behaviors. And that's exactly what they want to see. So I do believe that we have that balance, which is really established throughout the company, throughout all our leadership, and therefore people are using to the best of it, and still with all the respect and the productivity and professionalism, but really also being there with their families.
What a great attitude from a CEO. Rodrigo, thank you for talking to Fear and Greed.
Thank you so much again for inviting me on.
That was Rodrigo Pizarro, Chief Executive Officer of L'Oreal Australia and New Zealand. This is the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.